Hello, folks, and welcome to the Joe Morley Sports Show. I am Joe Morley, and today we're going to preview the 2020 Miami Dolphins. How about that? You guys think the Miami Dolphins have improved? I think they have under Brian Flores, who is their head coach. He comes over from the New England Patriots. He was never promoted to defensive coordinator after Matt Patricia left. He was always the linebacker coach. They don't know if he actually called the plays or Belichick called the plays. Anyways, he was part of the New England Patriots defense. He was a scout that worked all the way up to the coaching staff, various positions to become the linebacker coach, and then finally got picked up to be the Miami Dolphins head coach. He has 4 Super Bowl rings from his days with the Patriots. What I think it was a great hire. It's turning out to be a good hire, right, for Brian Flores. So here's last year's rankings. He took over a bad team, and we can all admit that Brian Flores and the Dolphins looked bad at the beginning of last year, but that was growing pains, and they started to get better and believe in and buy into his system as the year went on. Their offensive rankings, weren't that good. Their passing was up there, but their rushing, they couldn't find a running back, right? And then they traded Kenyon Drake halfway through the season, and he went and blew up somewhere else. He couldn't blow up in Miami, but he blew up over there. The defense just wasn't there. But, a new coach, a new system, and trying to build a new identity, that was bound to happen, right? But the thing that you saw, and I always preach this, is the improvement. And you saw improvement in the Miami Dolphins from game 1 to game 16. You saw that improvement, and you have to – that's where you go and draw the line and say that's how the coach is making this team better. So he needs to stay, and it is working, and we need to trust this system. As you can see, they hired a new offensive coordinator, Gailey. He's the former Bills and Cowboy coach from back in the day. Last time he worked in the NFL was in 2016. He worked for the Jets offensive coordinator, and I think they had the number 26th best offense that year. So I'm not a big believer in Gailey. I don't think he's ever had like a number 1 offense. I think the highest it was like number 8 in the league. So maybe he'll bring change. Maybe he'll bring a leadership, but I don't see him being the offensive coordinator for a while. And maybe, I don't know, maybe they see something in him that I don't. All right, so here's your quarterback. This is potentially looking like it's going to be the starter. A lot of people were thinking that Tua wasn't going to be ready for the season, but the more you read and the more you hear is that he's going to be that starter of the season. He's going to start the season, and of course, he was the number 5 overall pick, so you don't draft somebody in the first round, and that's what I always say. You don't draft somebody in the first round if you're not going to play him. You have to play him. But the only bad thing about Tua, and I was hard on Tua going into the draft because I don't think you put so much of a franchise at stake on somebody who's injured. And nobody got to talk to these guys and see these guys before the draft, and that's why I was hard on him because – and I thought he was going to fall because of the injuries, because he had 3 major injuries: your wrist, your hip, and your ankle. Those are hard injuries to come back from. So to come back within a year of those injuries, it's kind of unbelievable, right? And then to become the starter of an NFL team, they're going to have to keep this guy healthy. I put the teacher, Ryan Fitzpatrick, right? The Harvard grad on his 8 team, the beard. He's going to have to teach Tua some stuff, and hopefully he could be there to answer all his questions. But if you guys don't know Tua, he won the national championship with Alabama. Let's see, he had 7,442 yards in his 31 games career. He had 89 touchdowns, 11 interceptions. That's what you're looking at. You're looking at the ratio right there: 89 touchdowns to 11 interceptions. That's crazy. He had 69% completion percentage. You can't get much better than that, and that's what you're going to ask for, and that's what you hope translates from the college game to the NFL, is that his completion percentage needs to be there, right? A lot of people think he's a runner. He can move. He moves around. He's not a run first guy. He had 340 yards in the 31 games. He can move when he needs to move, and that's what you need. That's what you'd like to see, and that's the new age of the quarterbacks. There's no longer of just standing in the pocket and waiting, and then throw the ball off. No, these guys need to run, and they need to get the extra first down. And it's just a big question mark if Tua is going to be 100%. And can he take the big hit? And what happens after the big hit? That's what we're going to be looking at with Tua. So these are my great additions of the offseason. A young team adding these kind of guys, adding the veteran presence to the team. I like. I've always been a big fan of Jordan Howard. I liked him with the Chicago Bears. I liked him last year with Philly. He did get hurt last year in Philly with a shoulder injury. Came back, or he never came back at the end of the, so he only played like 10 games. But in those 10 games, he had 623 yards rushing, and then gave way to Miles Sanders. Byron Jones comes over from the Cowboys. He's been getting better and better as his career has gone on. He only has 2 career interceptions, but he shuts down, defending wide receivers. He doesn't give up a lot of yards, and that's what's good about him. And then Emmanuel Ogbah came, he played for Cleveland, and then he went to Kansas City last year. What a great deal. Signed 1 year for Kansas City and win the Super Bowl, right? Ogbah had, 5.5 sacks last year. So to put, to help this defense out and get some more rush on there and see what Brian Flores can do with them, that's going to be helpful for that. Here's your draft picks. And, of course, Tua. I like the Austin Jackson. It's a project. He's going to have to get there and work for you. I could never pronounce this name, Noah Igbebiani. I think he's going to be a good one. He should learn from Jones. Down there, Solomon Kindley and Curtis Weaver are my other 2 that I like. If they could just get some production from this class, they have a young team. And so anything that they can get, any extra help that they can get, the better it is. The better it is for the Dolphins. Here's their depth chart right now. I still have Ryan Fitzpatrick as a starter because it's not 100% yet, and they haven't gone to training camp. They haven't done any drills, so nobody knows. This is just off-season. They're doing it like we are right now, right behind the screen. This is how Tua's learning the offense right here behind the screen. So we'll see how it goes. I'll still leave Fitzpatrick as a starter. Maybe he does start, and then Tua takes over, or maybe Tua starts the whole year. I have Jordan Howard starting over Matt Breida, which I like the Matt Breida trade to bring Matt Breida in. That they needed running backs. Lard and Ballage did good last year, but Breida, we all saw what Breida did for the 49ers last year. They had a running back by committee over there, and he was one of the top guys. I think he finished with 600. No, he's finished with 623 yards last year, and Jordan Howard had 525, something like that. Devante Parker finally broke out last year, his first year of getting over 1,000 yards. He finished with a little over 1,200 yards. That was the first time in his career that he's done that. Allen Hurns, he's coming back. We got to see if he can become the player that he was in Jacksonville. He went to Dallas, and that didn't work out pretty well. I like Albert Wilson. Albert Wilson is real good, and Jakeem Grant. That's one of my favorites. He's a small guy, and I like him. Let's see, looking at that offensive line, not really sold on it. They gave Eric Flowers a lot of money, and Eric Flowers, surprised with people. When they saw that contract, everybody was like, ooh, really? Because they remember when Eric Flowers, he played for the Redskins last year, but they remember when Eric Flowers played for the Giants, and it was just horrible. I remember on primetime games, you're just looking at Flowers come on, man. If that potential is there, maybe they saw something that they could change with him. Here's the defense. This is what Brian Flores was brought in to do, right? Not a lot of big names. When you look at this, you're not like, oh, I know that guy, I know that guy, I know that guy. But a lot of solid players. Christian Wilkins is a good player. Ogbah, I already told you. Kyle Van Noy comes over from the Patriots last year. They had the number 1 defense. He comes over, and last year with the Patriots, he had 3 forced fumbles, 56 tackles, and 6.5 sacks. So that's going to help that defense. Xavier Howard, one of the underrated cornerbacks in this league. They'll go along with Byron Jones. So right there, your secondary is pretty much set. If they could get anything out of the secondary, which I think looks pretty good, just get that pass rush going, they could have a pretty solid defense this year. Something to look forward for the Miami Dolphins fans. Week 1, hey, why not go to Foxborough, right? Ryan Flores and the going up and playing against Bill Belichick, his coach mentor, I guess you would say. I know Belichick has a good record. I can't think of it off the top of my head against rookie quarterbacks in Foxborough, so they might struggle up there. Buffalo Bills are an improved team. Then you got the Battle of Florida right there. Seattle's a good team. San Francisco Broncos have improved. Chargers are average. Rams should be average. Cardinals, that's going to be a good matchup right there. The Jets, hey, that's crazy. They get to play the Jets, then a bye week, then the Jets. Works out right. They're going to have to win one of those. You should be prepared for at least one of those. The Bengals, Chiefs, Patriots, Raiders, Bills. Tough schedule. You see it for a young team that I think will be improving, but it's a tough schedule. And this is why I give them the prediction of 5-11. I could see them going as high as 8-8. I don't really see them going higher than that because I still think the Patriots will have enough without Tom Brady, with the key a little bit of key additions that they will be able to win a couple more games than people are predicting them to. At 5-11, I think that's the same record that they had last year, the Dolphins. So it's not. So people are gonna be like, "Well, I thought you said they were improved." Yeah, yes, I am saying they're improved, but it's hard to improve and get wins at the same time. This is a young team, and they will get their wins. The wins will come, and I think Brian Flores is the right guy to lead this ship, but it's not going to come this year. But they will be in more games than they were last year. How about that? Like, they will be losing games like 24-21, or they'll be in it until the fourth quarter and then they lose it somehow. That's the season that I see for the Miami Dolphins, that they're real close, they're right there, they're hanging in games, they're making big plays, but they just like so close that they can't get it done. And that's why I give them the high of 8-8, because there could be that one game that they get that missed kick that the other team misses or something, and it puts them right there. But I also see them as low as 2-14 because of that offensive line. Like, you don't know about Tua. Does Devante Parker go back to where he was before last year? Stuff like that could happen. I don't really see it because, like I said, I believe in this team, and I think that Brian Flores will have these guys ready to go day one. Their salary cap status for the next couple of years, of course, they're at $23 million this year. They still got to get Tua and all them under contract. Then you look into next year, and they're a little different because you're looking like, oh man, they only have $55 million for next year when some teams have, 80 to 100. But if you look at the Miami Dolphins roster, they're a young team, and there's not a lot of old veterans on there that they're going to have to pay. So like next year, they're not really going to lose anybody that of any big statue that they need to sign or do anything like that. Everybody that they want to be there is under contract, and so that $55 million, it's going to grow a little bit because every year the salary cap goes up just a little bit, and then they can go out and get more key players. They can go get offensive line. They can go get a running back if Matt Breida and Jordan Howard don't work out. They can go and move that around, but they don't have to pay any of their own free agents that are leaving this year. So I think Miami Dolphins, like I said, 5-11. I think they will be improved. I think they're going to be in every single game. I think Tua will show flashes. I'm not really sold on him having a great rookie year. I think he's going to have a learning curve. He's 6 foot, and in the NFL, it's a lot different than college. Even though you can dominate in college, sometimes you still have that learning curve, and I think he's going to have it. But at least he has a good coach behind him. He has a good backup quarterback with him, in Fitzpatrick. So the Dolphins are moving in the right directions, and don't count the Dolphins out. And hey, I could be wrong, and they could surprise us and even go better than 8-8. 8-8 was my best record for him, but with the way that Brian Flores coaches, and maybe he gets some of these no-name defensive guys that none of us, if average Joe just looks at him and goes, who are that? Maybe he gets those guys to become household names, and we start thinking about the Miami Dolphins in the playoffs next year, because the AFC East is wide open. Tom Brady's gone, so the Patriots aren't going to be that top team like they have been. And I think Buffalo Bills are the best team for it, but it wouldn't surprise me if Miami Dolphins actually kick off a year earlier than what people projected, because 2021 should be Miami's year. That's when should be taking that next step to be good. This is their rebuilding, and then bam, they should be there. But some teams start and they get that year earlier. They come a year earlier than people project. So I'm Joe Morley, and that's my 2020 team preview on the Miami Dolphins. Thank you for listening, and stay healthy.